So while I was going through this thought, again, praying for creative parenting and trying to figure out how to instill confidence in my kids. And of course, I naturally thought of chickens. I mean, that's just what we all do, right? This is the relationship God and I have. It can be a little strange to outsiders. But I started actually doing some research on this, the pecking of the egg. And I found this website called mypetchicken.com. Yes, that is an actual site, mypetchicken.com. And the following line jumped out at me in an article they had on there. And here's what it said: If you're soft hearted, it's natural to want to help. You've been waiting all this time for those babies to hatch, and you want a happy ending. You don't want to just sit on your hands while someone struggles if it is possible for you to help. But what you want to do isn't always what you should do. Just be sure you're fully prepared for the consequences of taking action.
Welcome to the Intertwined Life podcast. I am your host, Jenny Zentz. I am a wife and a mom on a mission. I've got a passion to help women discover practical ways to apply the power of God's Word to our everyday stuff. I truly believe that our walks with the Lord should be seamlessly intertwined with our everyday lives. It should affect every move we make and every breath we take. So come on, let's do life together. You've got this, because He's got you.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 44 of the Intertwined Life podcast. I'm really glad you're here. Today, I've really got a pretty short and sweet episode for you, but I think it's going to really hit home with a lot of us. So this is especially for those of us with kids still in the house. But you know what? At the same time, if you've got some adult kids that are still really hanging on, you might find this helpful too. So today we're going to talk about another one of my funny parenting phrases. I always pray for creative parenting, and as a result, I often come up with phrases and ideas that my kids find pretty weird. However, these quirky sayings and these wacky object lessons will undoubtedly follow them the rest of their lives, and I pray that they will always serve as a reminder for my kids of the life lessons that they were intended to impart. And so this one, a little phrase is peck the egg or peck your egg. So this happened several years ago when this came up. Our kids were just kind of struggling with confidence, right? And that's a normal thing to be struggling with confidence. And we've all heard how the process of pecking their own way out of their shell is believed to help strengthen and equip baby birds to not only survive, but to thrive. Well, mommy birds, they don't assist these little ones in the hatching process. While they keep them warm and safe, they let their little ones struggle a bit on their own to ensure that they'll have the skills they need when the time to leave the nest finally comes. Several years ago, I shared this with my kiddos, especially Michaela at the time. She was probably about 3 years ago. So she was 9 going on 19, extremely mature, extremely capable. But she still was lacking a little bit with some confidence. And I think that just follows all of us from time to time, right? So I was explaining this process to her. And many times I was telling her she just needed to peck her own shell. And I became very selective about helping my kids with the things that I knew they could do for themselves. I know when they are perfectly capable of doing something, even if they lack the confidence in their own abilities. So, peck your egg became my redundant response to so many things. And no doubt it was driving them crazy. But nonetheless, it always elicited a grin and it reminded them that yes, they could do it. So, knowing that we believe in them is a powerful first step in our kids learning to believe in themselves. I'm going to say that again. Knowing we believe in them is a powerful first step in our kids learning to believe in themselves. So while I was going through this thought, again, praying for creative parenting and trying to figure out how to instill confidence in my kids. And of course, I naturally thought of chickens. I mean, that's just what we all do, right? This is the relationship God and I have. It can be a little strange to outsiders. But I started actually doing some research on this, the pecking of the egg. And I found this website called mypetchicken.com. Yes, that is an actual site, mypetchicken.com. And the following line jumped out at me in an article they had on there. And here's what it said: if you're soft hearted, it's natural to want to help. You've been waiting all this time for those babies to hatch, and you want a happy ending. You don't want to just sit on your hands while someone struggles if it is possible for you to help. But what you want to do isn't always what you should do. Just be sure you're fully prepared for the consequences of taking action. You see, I know there's a temptation to help our kids at the first sign of difficulty. We don't want to watch them struggle. However, it's better to let them figure it out now than to try to help and end up causing more serious damage. We don't want to look back years later and regret realizing that in our own eagerness to help and our own lack of self restraint, we had a crippling effect on their character. There's another website called a farmishkindoflife.com. And I found an article there where the author said, if you decide to help a chicken hatch, know that the chick might not live, or might be fine, or might survive, but have other issues, which means you've possibly increased the work for yourself. I mean, my goodness, how similar is this, right? We all know adults who never hatched. and Unfortunately, some of you may be married to one of them. Thankfully, I'm not, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing. We all know adults who never hatched. Mom and dad took care of everything, and they never managed to leave the nest. We do not want to be those parents. We do not want to be those parents. The author on this website had a friend also who said, it's best to allow the chick the chance to complete the hatch process itself and to interfere as minimally as possible. You want to make sure you're not causing more harm than good. Another friend of theirs said it's important to have all the conditions in the incubator right and healthy hens to give the chicks the best chance of hatching safely. The impact of setting up an environment in our homes that is supportive and healthy cannot be overstated. A peaceful, Christ centered home and parents who are strong and well balanced are two of the surest ways to give our kids the tools they need to hatch on their own and come out strong. So, you see, sometimes we may get so focused on helping our kids with what we perceive to be their issues that we're not spending enough time with the Lord, working on our own weaknesses and our own issues, that we're not well balanced and mature enough to help them in the first place. Let's not be afraid to let our kids peck their own eggs. It's tough to watch, and they will likely not understand why we stand by as they struggle. But years from now, we'll be glad we did. Isaiah 40, verse 29 says, he gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. There's a promise in that verse for us as we struggle to watch our kids struggle, for our kids as they face these tough times in life, to remember that they have a source of their strength and that he promises that he gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. So encourage your kids when they hit these hard times. Don't rescue them, but encourage them. Don't give them all the answers, but point them to the one who has the answers. Help them know Philippians 4:13. They can do all things through Christ who gives them strength. Again, this doesn't mean they can jump off of a roof and fly because they believe Christ is going to give them the strength to fly. We have to be wise here, right? But it does mean that everything God calls them to do and brings them to, he gives them the ability and the strength to do and do well with his help. That includes us as parents. He's given us these kiddos, and he has given us everything we need to raise them in a way that will bring him honor and glory, give them strength, and equip them to be powerful, influential men and women in this world for his kingdom. So, deny that temptation to help them with everything and help them grow their own muscles, their own strength, their own ability, and their own confidence in what the Lord has placed in them to fully be all He's created them to be. So I hope this has been encouraging to you. I hope that you will use some of this with your kiddos. I hope that peck your egg will become a phrase that annoys your kids as much as it annoys mine. I think you can find some great truth here. And it will give you these little phrases. They help. If you didn't listen to the one, I did an episode, How Pickles and Peanut Butter Can Save Your Parenting. Again, strange, weird parenting, but it's helpful to have these strange little phrases that your kids know what they mean. And so when you say them, it actually makes people laugh and yet imparts the lesson you want to give instead of you using a lot of words, which is my temptation always, and just annoying the kids. I've found that these little phrases that are kind of funny and kind of weird, as long as the kids know what they mean, will send them in the right direction without increasing tension in the home, if that makes sense. So I encourage you to find some of these phrases of your own. Use some of mine. I've got a lot more. You can go on my website. I've got articles there about game-changing phrases to teach your kids and all of this. I'll probably do more episodes with those weird, silly things that I say. But I hope you enjoy it. I hope you'll use it. And I just want to encourage you. The school year's underway. New school years bring new challenges, whether it is harder work or um, teachers with different personalities than our kids have, all those things. But instead of flying in and rescuing them, let us encourage them to grow, to pray through their challenges, to draw their strength from the Lord instead of trusting that mom and dad will just make it all better because they're not really going to learn much that way, right? So be strong and keep your walk with the Lord intentional and strong because that is where we're going to know, Lord, do I step in here or do I step back here? And I promise He'll give you that guidance. There's another awesome verse in Isaiah where it says, He gently leads those who have their young. I love that verse. And I've always looked at that as a promise as well for parenting, that He's talking about tending sheep and how that He tends His flock, but He gently leads those who have their young. And I love that. I just see Him gently leading us who have kiddos and helping us know the right steps to make. So hold on to Him. He's got this, and you've got this because He's got you. So have a great day, and I will catch you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Hey friend, if you enjoyed this episode and you got some good stuff out of it, there's a few options you have. One, you could click that little subscribe button, because let's be honest, who's got time to remember to check back and see if there's a new episode, right? So click that subscribe button, and then when a new episode comes up, it will just, by the magic of the internet, pop up in your Dropbox, and it'll be right there for you whenever you're ready. And also, if you would review this podcast, oh my gosh, if you like what you heard, get on there, give it a 5-star review. If you didn't like what you heard, just pretend it never happened, okay? But if you would do a review for me, just take a couple seconds and do that. Not only would I be crazy excited, but also it would just be a great way for us to partner together, for you to help this podcast be seen by more women out there. And you could be a part of helping more women discover these practical ways to apply God's word to just everyday stuff. So I would love it, love it, love it if you could help me out in one of those two ways.